Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a really long time since the last time I recorded something, or really anything. I have been dealing with recovering from a knee surgery, so my ligament was stretched and needed to be repaired. I have finally gotten to a point where I am able to walk around, so I thought it would be a good idea to sit and film this video. Basically, today's video is going to be kind of a welcome back, a few updates, and an actual video. Welcome back to Amani's Honest Reviews. I am going to be doing what I'm reading this Ramadan / books that I would recommend, or books that I am planning on reading. One of them is These Infinite Threads by Tahira Mafi. And obviously this goes without saying, but the first and foremost book that I recommend everyone who is participating in Ramadan to read is the Quran and Hadiths and all of that. But another thing that is really important is to also read books by Muslim authors during this time. So the more diverse your reads are, the better, the more you'll understand about Islam and how Muslims are, in my opinion. So the first book that I'd recommend is These Infinite Threads by Tahira Mafi. So this is a fantasy, and it's written by a Muslim author. So Tahira Mafi is well known for her Shatter Me series, and this is the duology, so it's a sequel to This Woven Kingdom. And thank you to HarperCollins for giving me this book. HarperCollins has finally created a fair contract for their union, so I am finally able to talk about this book. 100 Other Girls is the next book, and it's by Amani. It is a Devil Wears Prada retelling, and it's a lot of fun. It's with a Muslim protagonist called Nora, and she has a sister, Layla. It's really interesting to see this perspective, and it's from Source Books Landmark. And Iman Harikia actually allowed me to interview her for an episode on my podcast, Raise Your Words. So I'm still doing that. For those of you who have tuned in, thank you. And if you didn't know that I had a podcast, you can look me up on Spotify under Raise Your Words or even Apple Podcasts. And then the next book that I want to talk about is 40 Words for Love, and this is by Aisha Sayed. Thank you to Penguin Teen for gifting me this copy. This is really interesting because it's about Yasmin and Raf and their story and how they find love. They kind of go from childhood to, lovers, and I really love the depth of this book. This next one is another author that I got to interview for my podcast, and her name is Maya Ibrahim. The book is called Spice Road, and it is a fantasy. This character actually has, my name, but it's spelled differently. It's spelled with an I instead of an A. So it was really interesting to sort of see my name in a book because the author pronounces it exactly how I pronounce my name, so pretty much the same. And if you're into, An Ember in the Ashes, or you like The City of Brass, you will love Spice Road. So this next one is an old-time favorite of mine, Love from Mecca to Medina, and it's by S.K. Ali. It's the sequel to Love from A to Z. So basically in this one, Adam and Zainab are going on Umrah, and it takes place after Love from A to Z, so I don't want to say what happens. But basically, if you read Misfit in Love, you'll see some characters from there come back. You'll also see some characters pop up, and we get to see what happens to Selson as well as what happens to Adam and Zainab after the events of the gift, which is a short story that you can actually read, I believe, on the Simon Teen reader website. It's called Riveted by Lit or something like that, so you can look it up and find it. And also it was given as a PDF for pre-orders from Mecca to Medina. So the next book that I would recommend is All My Rage by Sabra Tahir. I really love that it talked about immigration and also basically a lot of the generational trauma, and it doesn't shy away from anything. In fact, there's a whole page on the content warnings, but it is still something that I would highly recommend. Alright, so for this next portion, I am going to talk about non-fiction books that I recommend, and also talk about some other Muslim authors that I plan on reading or that I would recommend. So for the non-fiction part, it's a kind of a short list because I tend to read more fiction since a lot of my grad school program deals with reading nonfiction. So the nonfiction that I have is Essentials of Islam, which is by Sahib Webb, and it is a really handy guide to kind of get back into reading about the fundamentals of the religion. It is also perfect for pretty much anyone, because even if you don't have like an Islamic school background, it is still something you can learn from. And even if you do have an Islamic background, it's still something, like even if you did like go to an Islamic school, it's still something you can learn from. There's a lot to it, and Sahib Webb does a really good job. Like Imam Sahib Webb basically does a really good job explaining everything in depth and not shying away from anything. Another one that I really liked was Reclaim Your Heart, which is by Yasmin Mujahid. And Yasmin Mujahid is an incredible scholar who has written a lot of good Islamic books. This is the one book that I really like to reread every time. So yeah, this is the one book, which is Reclaim Your Heart by Yasmin Mujahid. I highly recommend picking that up. And then another one is Imam Omar Suleiman's books. And then there's also like this Sunnah story one. There's like this book about Kingdom of Black, or it was like a short little book where it goes in depth about Surah Mulk and other surahs. And I believe that was on Amazon, and you can also find it on Barnes & Noble and thrift books and wherever you buy books. So I highly recommend those. As far as like Muslim authors, I also recommend The Love Match by Priyanka Taslim. So that is a Bangladeshi American story, and I highly recommend reading that. Osma Jalaluddin's books are really good. If you've read Aisha at Last, which was a Pride and Prejudice retelling, you'll love Hana Khan Carries On. And Osma is also coming out with a new book called Much Ado About Nadia. It is another retelling, so I also recommend that one. And those are like kind of like my go-tos. I tend to stick to like Muslim authored books during Ramadan. I try to make it as easy for myself as possible, especially with Ramadan being only 30 days. I want to make the most of it. So Ramadan is from March 21st or 22nd, depending on the moon, and it'll end the week of April 21st to 22nd. From those two, March to April, I will be pretty busy with Ramadan and probably won't be filming any YouTube videos or even podcast episodes. I do have some pre-planned content that I plan on putting up, so I'm planning on doing that, and I'm also planning on still maybe filming when I feel up to it. I may not always film, but I might try to like at least publish more frequently after Ramadan. So especially since I am back, and I plan on being more active soon. Those are the main books that I really want to talk about. Misfit in Love, The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, Nora and the Immortal Palace by M.T. Khan is also a good one. It All Comes Back to You by Farnaz Rishi is another one that I recommend. It's got like friends to lovers to enemies to friends to lovers again. So if you're into that, that is a book that I recommend. I also recommend Once Upon an Eid, which is edited by Aisha Syed and S.K. Ali. It is it's an anthology, and it basically has 15 different Muslim authors who all contributed to it. I always recommend Ms. Marvel by G. Willow Wilson, and now you can also watch the like Disney Plus show. They have like an animated version, and then they have like the real Disney Plus show with Iman Vellani in it, so I recommend that. And I believe that's pretty much it. I don't really have too many others. There are a lot more coming out this year that I'm really excited for. Oh wait, there is one more. There is, I believe, City of the Play God by Sarwat Chadha is one of the Rick Riordan Presents books, and it is really great for young Muslim boys, but also young Muslim girls. Whoever is really into fantasy will enjoy this, especially since it stars a Muslim protagonist, and I highly recommend that. And especially since it stars a Muslim protagonist, and I highly recommend reading it. I believe that's it. Once more like Muslim book authors come out, I will definitely be talking about them. There are a lot more that I probably have missed out. I know like Asma Zihnat Khan also has the Blood Print series, and that's really good too. We also recently just moved, so I don't have like all of my books unpacked yet. Once I settle down and everything, I will try to get more physical copies in my videos. For now, I can only kind of talk about the book, which kind of works. And yeah, I also really want to do a few like show reactions or movie reactions depending on what I feel like doing. There are a lot of shows coming out that I am really excited for, like the Percy Jackson series and some other shows, so once those come out, I will definitely be doing that. Shadow and Bone is also coming out March 16th, so maybe I'll film my reaction to the first episode and maybe do like reaction videos, and that might be a series. Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment on some author that you love reading. And until next time, bye.